Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will show you how I made this Uno cake. Isn't it cute? I really liked making this cake. So the first thing I'm showing you all are the Uno cards, and it's the back of the Uno card. So I have some white fondant, and I'm using Wilton fondant. I like Wilton. Is good to work with, but I don't like the taste of it. If I eat the fondant, I'd rather eat like satin ice or something like that. But I put a little Tylose powder in it, and that's only to firm it up. So when it dries, it will dry really hard because I want the Uno cards to still stand. I don't want them to like lean over or anything. So I really can't tell y'all how much Tylose powder I used. I just mainly used enough to make the fondant feel a little stiffer, but just not too hard. So I'm using a little cornstarch to roll out my fondant because it does stick just a little bit. And I made a little template of the Uno card, just the size. I think I made it probably like 3 inches. I can't remember, but I mainly wanted it to be almost as tall as the cake to, just make it a little dramatic because it was for a 1-year-old. So I just wanted it to be very childlike. I also tried to roll out my fondant as thin as it will go without it ripping or anything. And I was able to get it a little thinner later in the video. But this was my first cut, and the remaining Uno cards will be much thinner than this one. So I'm just using my X-Acto knife and a ruler to get straight sides, and I just set it to the side and let it firm up. So now on to the colored fondant. Now Wilton's red fondant is really soft, so I did use more Tylose and cornstarch for this one. It is really soft. After I rolled it out as thin as I could get it, I also let it just sit out on my counter, on my table, for about 5 minutes or so, just so it can get a little more stiff. The colored fondant is the face of the Uno card. So just to show you the color of the cards, because Uno cards are very colorful. And I did this same process to the red, to the yellow, the green, and the blue card. I just rolled it as thin as I could get it because with the Uno card, we stack in fondants, and I just didn't want to have a really thick card. So now I'm taking my ruler and using my X-Acto knife just to cut off the uneven sections, and this will make it really easy to cut out the rectangles. And what I just did was I just measured my rectangles using the centimeter side because it's easier to calculate to measure how small you want the colored fondant. Now I cannot remember, like I said, the exact measurements. It will really be up to you on how big or small you want your Uno cards. Just make sure when you cut out your colored fondant, you just make sure it's smaller, just a little smaller than your white fondant. I see you are still watching my video, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you will not miss any other video. Also, like my page on Facebook, Crafted Cakes and Desserts, and follow me on Instagram. That's also Crafted Cakes and Desserts. So now all I'm doing is measuring down the fondant how long or short I want my red pieces, and making little indentations with the X-Acto knife so I can get it as straight as possible. And if you notice, I'm not cutting out one rectangle at a time. I just take that knife, the X-Acto knife, and bring it all the way down. That way I can get probably like 2 of them out at a time. So you just seeing me check to see if my red is smaller than my white, and I had to measure it again. Make sure you just keep measuring it to make sure your colored fondant isn't too big or too wide. Okay, I cut out that oval in the middle of my card, and this time I really got this fondant thin. I really got it as thin as I can get it. And I will be using that oval that I cut out to cut out my fondant, to try to, because if you have a circle cutter, you can always press it to make it an oval, and you can use that like it's an oval stamp cookie cutter or something. But unfortunately, I don't have one. So in my spoon is shortening, and I put that on the fondant, and that just helped the paper stick to the fondant so it won't move around while I'm cutting around it. All right, now it's time for the number. And this number, y'all, I got this so thin. I wish I was able to get the white part this thin, but I was able to really get, y'all see, really thin, because I didn't want it bulky. But I have a number cookie cutters, and I just used it. I just dipped it in a little cornstarch, rubbed the little straggly ends, and used my spoon to pop it out. And I did that for all the other colors. Now, since we have all the components cut out, now it's time to build our Uno card. So I'm showing y'all how I did the green. I have my white background, my green color, and that teaspoon or tablespoon, I have some piping gel, and I'm also using a little small brush to brush the piping gel on my fondant. I take a little piping gel and spread it on the back of the Uno card, and I try my best to position the colored fondant in the middle of the white to make sure it's even on all sides. Then I get my oval shape, put a little piping gel on that, and try to get it as close in the middle as possible. Now I have my number 1, and I noticed that it's a little too long, so I got my X-Acto knife and just cut off just a very little piece of that, just so it can fit inside my oval. I spread a little piping gel on it, only a little, to make it stick and make sure everything is sticking together, and there you go, Uno card. And I did that for all the other ones. Now it's time for my number one topper. I have some yellow fondant and I use some of my shortening to make my number one paper stick so it will not move while I'm cutting it out. Remember, this fondant does have Tylose in it because I want it to stand up, and it's really, right now it's not stiff, but you see it's not really moving around as much when I cut it. If it was soft, I would be cutting for days, I'm sorry, because it'll be moving all around. So when I rolled out this yellow fondant, I rolled it thick so I will be able to stick a skewer, a wooden skewer, in the middle of it, so I will be able to insert it in the middle of the cake. Okay, I have my skewer and I am measuring to see how far I need to stick the skewer inside. Skewer is hard to say for me. Skewer inside of my fondant. I just rub some piping gel on it and that will help make it stick. Now I did, when I was inserting the skewer, instead of inserting it and it was more toward the middle, for some reason it was sticking out toward the top, so I had to try to kind of fix that. It didn't turn out bad because I did put little colored circles on it to match my cake board, and it still turned out really cute. I used a piping tip to cut out my circles, so all the straggly ends or the hanging ends, I just used my X-Acto knife to cut it out to make it even with the number, and that was it. I'm gonna go ahead and apologize now. No, I did not record me covering my cake board, but I promise I will show y'all how to cover your cake board in fondant and how I put those circles on the inside. There will have to be another video, but this is the next day because you want to make sure all of your Uno cards and your number one are hard or firm. So now it's time for me to stack my cake. So I made sure it was in the middle, and now I'm just piping just a little small border at the bottom just to hide that cake board. You know, this is the best part to me, is the decorations, like adding all the decorations. You seeing everything, you seeing your cake become what you envisioned it. This is what I love. Like, I love this. So now all I'm doing is randomly placing my Uno cards different ways around the cake. And when I told y'all I wanted my Uno cards to be big, this is the effect that I wanted. And to be honest, I could have gone a little bigger and it still would have been great. So that's why I said however big or small you want your Uno cards, do that. Because mine turned out good. So once I finished just randomly placing my Uno cards, well, I won't say necessarily all random. I did have them in order from color because I didn't want two colors together. But when I say random, I mean like how high I wanted it or low, if I wanted it straight or to the side, slanted. That's what I mean by random. Then I made this really cute name board, plate or whatever you want to call it. I did the same thing I did with the numbers, just used all the different colors of fondant and cut out his name and I put it on that little stamp. I'm adding the number 1 and there you go. You have a really cute, simple, fun, colorful Uno cake. So the top, I did have 2 Uno cards left and I noticed with that green, it was a green right below it, even though it's one on this side too, and I didn't realize that until I saw this video. But really cute. See, it really turned out really cute and my friend loved it. If you like this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up and comment in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe by hitting that subscribe button and I'll see y'all in the next video. See y'all.